the harsh reality behind China's high-speed rail. This is China's high-speed rail. I hope you like your drinks shaken and not stirred. Traveling by train in China can really be a nightmare. If you enjoy secondhand cigarette smoke, you could be lucky enough to have smokers on board your slick high-speed rail journey. China's high-speed rail is deadly, but not in the way that you think. Sure, there have been fatal accidents and huge quality control issues due to the usual Chinese official corruption. In fact, we saw the third deadliest high-speed train wreck in history in China, in which the Chinese authorities tried to black out the media and actually bury train cars to hide the evidence. Yes, unlike any sensible government which would investigate the wreckage thoroughly, they immediately sent out excavators to dig holes and bury the train cars in a failed attempt of getting away scot-free. I mean, why not? The CCP censors tragedy all the time, and gets away with it.
It was a horrifying scene. One of China's super elite high-speed trains smacked into the back of another train that had stalled, killing 39 people. And now China's government is trying to bury the lead. They sent out instructions to Chinese journalists covering the tragedy. Among the highlights, do not investigate the causes of the accident. Instead, the government says concentrate on touching stories, like how people are donating blood. They insist all stories have the same theme. In the face of great tragedy, the memo reads, there's great love. Bottom line, do not question, do not elaborate.
But this time, they failed, which led, luckily, to a massive safety overhaul of the high-speed rail, which was, for the most part, a success. Although further fatal accidents were to occur, like the one in Guizhou caused by mud on the rail from a landslide. But, like I said earlier, the high-speed rail isn't necessarily deadly from an accident point of view. This is you in a coffee shop. This is the coffee shop's Wi-Fi router. Once connected, you're very happily browsing along doing your thing. Everything is fine, except for when the man in the middle arrives. This guy tricks your computer into thinking that he is the router, and he tricks the router into thinking that he is your computer. So now everything that goes through from your computer to the internet and back goes through him. He can sniff out the websites you're going to, he can see the passwords you're entering into those websites, he can see what you're searching for, the pictures you're viewing, and more importantly, he can grab the session tokens, which allow him to go into your banking website or whatever website you have accessed while in the coffee shop and pretend to be you. You can see how bad that could be. What do you do to prevent this? Simple. Use Surfshark VPN. Amazing reveal. What happens here is when you connect to the internet using a VPN like Surfshark, it's all encrypted. It's a virtual private network. So even if this guy does trick the two of you, even if he does get access to all this information and he can see the traffic, he cannot decipher it. He cannot read it because it's secure. And that is why I use Surfshark VPN. Go to surfshark.deals/SerpentZA and get a huge discount off of a 2-year plan, plus up to 3 months free. Hey babe, I just got us 3 months for free off of Surfshark. That's surfshark.deals/SerpentZA and use the code SerpentZA. And now, back to the show. Here we see a heroic rail worker saving a young woman from an attempt to end her own life. Thankfully, his quick thinking saved the day, but this unfortunately highlights the other way in which the high-speed rail is deadly. It is very often used as a way to escape the land of the living by those who see no other way out. In a cruel twist of fate, the president of the China Railway Group himself decided to take it upon himself to leave this mortal coil under suspicious circumstances. As to what led to this, scandals and corruption are my educated guess. During my many journeys on China's high-speed rails, I very rarely didn't run into trouble. Popular routes are hell to travel on due to the crowds. This is what a normal trip from Guangzhou to Shenzhen looks like during a normal weekday. And don't get me started on using the high-speed rail during any sort of holiday. It's an absolute nightmare. Not to mention the overbearing security checkpoints, the constant noise, and unfortunately, due to no fault of the high-speed rail themselves, the inconsiderate passengers that make life difficult for everyone on board. In all fairness, I did have plenty of uneventful trips too. But noise and crowds are impossible to escape. What I'm trying to point out here is that China's high-speed rail isn't the amazing win most Chinese propagandists would make you believe. Yes, in China, since the vast majority of people are much poorer than even minimum wage earners in the West and cannot afford their own transport, China's robust public transport system makes sense. The high-speed rail, unfortunately, is still too expensive for many, and the entire high-speed rail network runs at a massive loss, incurring huge debt year after year. But hey, it looks great in a propaganda video. I'm not trying to wholesale poo-poo the high-speed rail network in China. I think it's fantastic. It's very convenient, and often in China, because all the planes, I think 80% of all flights are delayed in China, taking the high-speed rail is often faster than flying somewhere. Seriously, I used to do it. But it isn't some sort of miracle. It's a train. Next time it's raining and you walk into your garage, get into your car and head off to your destination dry and warm, think of all the poor souls who had to brave the cold and wet to find their way to a bus or train station in China, queue in long lines in order to have their bags x-rayed and themselves frisked, all so they could join a massive undulating sardine tin of a train or bus, endure the noise, sweat and morning breath, only to have to rush back out into the wind and rain to make it to their final destination. So while you sip on your drive-through Starbucks listening to your favorite tunes on the radio, spare a thought for all those poor souls in China. By the way, on a related note, I'm sure you've noticed how many China versus the USA videos are being pumped out by the Chinese propagandists lately. You know, the ones where they'll show, Kensington Avenue with all the drug addicts and then some propaganda oversaturated picture of a Chinese city or something to try and compare America to China. Well, let's nip this in the bud. C-Milk actually made a proper video completely debunking all the nonsense propaganda.
America is worse than China. Bullshit. Claim number 1, China is richer than the USA. False. There are fake websites that come up with completely false information as the first search result. They're saying that the average Chinese person's pulling in like $4,000 a month. I don't think so. $339 per year. Not even per month, per year.
Please go and give it a watch. Link is in the description below. And don't forget to join us on Friday for the China Show. It's our weekly show. It's a live show where we talk about all the news coming out of China, the latest and greatest, the funny stuff, and everything else in between. I can't wait to see you then. And as always, you know the drill. Unlike unrealistic propaganda, stay awesome.
Smoking is strictly prohibited on the train. And please do not use perfume, hairspray, and other spray products in the toilet. These behaviors will trigger the smoke alarm system and affect the train operations. Smoking on the train will be fined from 500 to 2,000 yuan according to the regulations on railway safety depending on the circumstances. Meanwhile, it would be credited to the personal credit information system according to the regulations on credit information industry and would be imposed restrictions on ticket purchase in 180 days. For your good personal credit, please obey relevant national laws and regulations and regulations of the railway company. Please don't smoke on the CRH train.